All right, we are 5 minutes in, so I think we are ready. First, thank you very much to everyone here for connecting to a new Atlassian webinar by ServiceRocket. On this occasion, we will conduct a session about ITSM solutions called Revolutionize Service Management with Automation. In this session, we will be discussing how to streamline and elevate your service management processes through the power of automation. You will learn from one of our Atlassian experts as we share insights, best practices, and real-world examples to help you transform your service delivery and drive greater efficiency and customer satisfaction. This session will be an opportunity to stay ahead of the curve in the world of service management, and we have prepared some interesting things to share. So if at any point during the presentations you have questions, please feel free to leave them on the chat, and we'll get back to those at the end of the session. Next slide, please. Great. So first things first, let's start with introductions. Here are your speakers today. You have me, Christian. My name is Christian. I'm a technology and music enthusiast with a passion for the Atlassian tech stack. I thrive on helping my customers solve challenges with the right blend of technology and tech-enabled services. When I'm not working, I'm often searching for the right T-blend to meet the moment. A little fun fact about me, I attended nursing school for a very long period of 3 days, which allowed me to quickly understand that I like the business more and ultimately find that my calling was as sales. Joining me today and taking the lead on the technical aspects of this presentation, Miguel Ramon. Miguel is a Santiago-based technical solution architect who helps ServiceRocket customers get the most out of their Atlassian products. Miguel is thrilled to help our clients bring their vision to reality by implementing solutions that maximize their investment. Another fun fact, Miguel has a law degree, but after some years working in other industries, he finally caved into the nerdiness and started doing technical consulting, which he loves. Let's now talk a bit about ServiceRocket. So ServiceRocket is a leading provider of tech-enabled services that helps fast-growing companies to accelerate their growth. ServiceRocket was founded in 2001. We have delivered tech-enabled services for fast-growing companies ever since. Our relationship with Atlassian began early on. We were the first users of Confluence and Jira, and we were the first to offer Jira training. And we signed Atlassian First Partner Agreement at the time. Our Atlassian partnership continues to thrive to this day. ServiceRocket was born in Sydney, Australia, growing quickly and robustly, and then moving our headquarters to Palo Alto, California, the pinnacle of technology companies in the United States, and thus expanding our presence around the world. Today, we have 11 offices in different parts of the globe, which allow us to provide the highest level of service and support 24/7, regardless of the time zone in which our clients are located. Lastly, at ServiceRocket, we made a commitment to build the best IT infrastructure for our own business by leveraging the Atlassian Jira Service Management platform. That enabled us to bring these best practices to our customers, backed by our promise to be the single most reliable partner in the acceleration of your growth. And we have one more slide. In line with the above, we are an Atlassian Platinum Solution Partner, and we currently have 2 specialization badges in Cloud and ITSM. Great. So without further ado, Miguel, take it away, please.
Hey, everybody. Welcome, and thank you for joining us today. Very excited to have you here. Once again, if you have any questions, just leave them down in the chat, and we'll be addressing them at the end of the presentation. So let's get into automation. Let's talk a little bit about automation and service management with automation specifically. So this is the agenda, what we want to cover over today. First of all, let's do a brief introduction to what is Jira Service Management. Let's go over what exactly we're referring to when we talk about automation. Let's do an overview of that. What are the benefits of it? Let's look at some common use cases for automation within the scope of a service management project or tooling, such as JSM. And then we're going to do a small demo. Well, let's talk about as well as how to build the automation rules within Jira. And then we can do a small demo as well and show you around some test instance we have around here at ServiceRocket, so you can see how these rules behave and interact with your data and everything you have inside of JSM. So first of all, what is JSM? If you're not familiar with it, Jira Service Management is Atlassian service desk solution. It fully complies with ITSM frameworks and it is built on top of Jira. So if you're familiar with Jira, have used Jira software, for example, or Jira Work Management, you can imagine that it's Jira and then it has some additional components on it, for example, like queues, SLAs, and it includes a customer portal as well, and much more to deliver a top-notch service request experience for both agents and users. So JSM, what does it address? It addresses some common challenges you see across a lot of teams that have to work in this within this industry. For example, when you implement these types of toolings into your organization, you see a lot of silos, a lot of occurrences of instances in which collaboration is not as streamlined as it could be. DevOps and businesses teams are often working in silos, as I mentioned before. This makes effective collaboration a huge challenge. And the teams, for example, they could have data spread out in different tools and different systems, and makes it a little bit harder for them to get the bigger picture and understand what needs to get done. This also impacts customer experience. First of all, from a standpoint of there could be, for example, issues with visibility or not knowing how work is getting done or what is the progress on a ticket you have open, both for internal or external customers. It also happens that customer insatisfaction is not only on the customer side, but it also affects agents as well. So you need a robust collaboration tool, which you can use to streamline work and then get things done a little bit quicker with higher velocity. And then we can see a lot of data silos, as we mentioned before with the collaboration tools as well. You see a lot of information that is in individual spreadsheets that are not properly shared or in other systems. And then at the end, it makes it a little bit harder and makes the response times as well slower when you need to track down that information as well, and you don't have it at hand in a centralized part. So in this sense, what Jira Service Management does is it helps you make this work more visible. It provides an open, collaborative platform that brings visibility to the work and to the progress of that work. So at the core, you can always think of Jira software or Jira Work Management as a collaboration tool, and this is no stranger to JSM as well. It is built on top of this, and it is guided by this principle of collaboration. It also helps you deliver value fast with this visibility and the streamlining of work with clear-cut workflows. You can also deliver this value to your customers, internal and external, quicker, and you can also retain better all your SLAs and help your agents align with their objectives as an organization. And finally, you can see that these data silos can be broken down. You have a wealth of integrations you can use within Jira Service Management and reference data all across your organization in a centralized way inside a single ticket or an issue. So let's go inside of the automation as well. And what can we do with automation within JSM? So a little bit of history. Automation for Jira was originally made on the server and data center, the on-premise versions of Jira. They were made originally by CodeBarrel and were acquired by Atlassian. And what it does is it provides you a lot of functionality that helps you to build and automate a lot of manual processes that could be best used by an IT system and not by, let's say, a human. So when this was acquired by Atlassian, it was integrated much more deeply inside of the Atlassian tooling, and especially Jira and especially Confluence as well. So when we're talking about automation, we're talking about the use of technology and software tools to perform various tasks and processes with minimal human intervention. So IT automation is designed to streamline IT operations, enhance efficiency, and reduce errors. Automation rules within JSM, they allow you to automate actions within your system based on the criteria that you set and removing the need to perform manual and repetitive tasks, as we will see in the use cases a little bit further down. So what are some of the benefits? We can talk about, for example, improved efficiency and making, for example, helping your agents focus on things that matter most instead of thinking about transitioning an issue or linking stuff or closing linked issues. All of these kind of manual tasks that pile up can be probably automated in a better way. This will also reduce human error. So it also reduces the probability of things going wrong or things going missing, data going missing when you handle things through a system or an IT system. We will also get faster response times by allowing your agents to focus on the real work. And also it allows you to scale everything, because these rules that eventually you can reduce or increase the scope of these rules based on projects, based on project types, categories, or you can just set them to global instance as well. So looking into service management, talking about service management and looking into how automation can help you out, we can go over some common use cases for this. So for example, we can talk about having an automation rule that when an incident is created, it can send out an alert into a Slack channel you have, for example, because automation rules not only work within the scope of Jira itself, but you can also use it to send web requests to external systems that you have integrated into Jira to do certain actions on the external systems as well. So for example, you can look into, propagating a message through Slack or through email, for example. You can auto-assign approvers as well. So for example, when you have a ticket that reaches a certain state in your workflow, which requires approval from a senior support engineer, you can have that rule actually assign the approver without somebody needing to manually do it, personally within the workflow. You can also auto-assign Jira issues for distributed teams, in the sense that you can use, for example, a round-robin approach for when an issue is created within your customer portal. You can then have Jira auto-assign the issues to different members of your team, depending on the parameters you can give it to it. You can also clone issues and link issues. So for example, if you have a distributed team that, for example, works based off of one customer portal, but has 3 other projects in the backend that kind of do the work or process the requests, you can have the automation rule based off on the first issue, create and clone issues on the other projects, and then kind of link them into between and assign persons into them to perform the work that is required for it. So when we talk about automation rules, we have 3 major components that break them down. The first one is the trigger, the second is the condition, and the third is the actions. What the trigger does is pretty much is an event that happens within Jira that kicks off the rest of the automation. We will see in the demo, there are a lot of triggers, but you can think of it, for example, the most common one is when an issue is created. But you can also use a trigger, for example, of when an issue is commented, or when an issue passes into a transition. When it goes from to do to in progress, you can perform a certain action. The other common trigger, for example, is the manual trigger, which is just a button or an option you would see in an issue when you open it in a project, if you have the appropriate permissions, or if you're within a certain group, or whatever parameters you want to give it, you can kick off the automation manually as well. And then the action finally is the wealth of events that you can unchain when the conditions and when the trigger is actioned upon as well. So for example, you can transition an issue, as I mentioned before, you can comment on it, you can close an issue, you can send an email, you can send an action via Slack, and you can send a web request as well. So there are a lot of things you can do with automations, and you can chain them as well. So you're not limited to, for example, only one action per rule. The limit in this case, the upper limit, is 65 components, which you can have inside of an automation rule. So that means you can have 65 steps, to say in a way, that can be done within an automation rule. A common rule will have something around 10 or 15 components, and that would be a bit of an extensive rule anyways. So, for example, talking about this and talking about the common use cases we have a little bit here before, we can look at, for example, this case, which is the auto-assign issues to distributed teams. As we mentioned about, for example, the round-robin auto-assigning of tickets, you can look here and then you can see that the trigger is the first one, and it's the most common trigger, which is the issue created one. And then you can see the assign issue action, right, and see how you can configure it based on what you need. So you can use the JQL to restrict the issues that are actually actioned by this issue create trigger. And you can see the method to choose the assignee. In this case, it's a balanced workload. And you can also define the users you want that could be inside or that can be assigned within this rule. You can use groups, you can use single users, you can use roles as well within the project. All of those will be up to your needs and what you are looking for when you configure this rule. As you can see from this, automation for Jira is no code. It's mostly done by just connecting artifacts. You can also go a little bit deeper, and I also want to show that in the demo as well, because the most common use cases will be satisfied by this no-code interface, but you can also use, for example, smart values and get a little bit deeper into the functionality to get some very customized experiences out of this. For example, this is a little bit of a longer rule here, and this is the auto-closing inactive Jira support tickets. And from this, what you can do is actually run a scheduled automation rule that can run a JQL query, which can then go ahead and close some issues depending on whatever parameters you pass it. From here, you can only see the trigger. This is the schedule trigger in which you can use like a basic parameter of, a basic set of rules or parameters for the dates, for the time zones. You can use a different time zone distinct from the system one you have set up in your Jira to run the rule every certain amount of time. You can also use cron expressions for this as well. Then you can pass it the JQL, which will identify the issues you want to include within this execution. And after that, you can set the rule to transition the pool of issues you will get in the previous trigger, the scheduled trigger, to go through a transition. And you can also tell it to leave a comment. So this is something we were mentioning before, which is you're not limited to one action within the automation rule. You can do several things at the same time. So in this case, we would be transitioning, and then to give also visibility to the ticket and in the customer to be able to track the progress and understand what is happening, we can also tell automation for Jira to leave a comment on the issue, which will be emailed as well to the customer that is watching that issue or is a reporter of that issue. And you can see here, for example, the dynamic value that is being set to the comment as well, which is reporter.display name. That would be a Jira Smart value that is being pulled from the issue itself and will be populated into the comment depending on what issue is being actioned upon. And then, for example, you have this other rule, which is using the advanced compare condition, because we hadn't seen conditions up until now. And this one will allow you to reopen issues if they are, for example, commented upon. So you can see the trigger here is an issue commented trigger. And then you can see the advanced compare condition kicking in, which will check if the status when the issue is commented on that ticket. So you can use, once again, Jira Smart values here and reference the status of that particular issue and check if it is, for example, in its status done. If it is, and if it satisfies that condition, you can run another condition, for example, if the person who is making the comment is the reporter, for example, then automation for Jira can go ahead and transition this issue back into in progress and then close it, or, for example, leave a comment. So from here, you can see that there are a lot of things. You can start really basic, but then you can start using smart values and other elements within automation for Jira, for which you can build some really powerful execution. So now let's go into the demo, right, to show you a little bit of what we've been talking about here. This is a demo instance we have right now. And you can see, for example, this is the automation rules panel we have. And from here, we can let's create a real quick rule here, just so you can see how it's done. So, for example, you can see all the triggers. There are a wealth of triggers, as you can see. The most common ones are right up here. For example, the issue created one, the issue commented, trigger, versions, field values changes. But it's up to you to kind of explore the capabilities of this. Let's make a simple rule for start, so just so you can see how the no-code interface for this works. So we can run, for example, a trigger on issue create. Let's add in a common condition, an issue field condition. So from here, we can say that an issue is created and I want to capture all issues that are created within a project called, let's say, design. Let's use this one. So we can change this field. We can look for project, and if project equals design, let's pass on to the action. So we can add an action, right? And let's just, for now, let's just leave a comment. So we publish the rule, and you can see the rule is created right here. So now let's go into the test, and let's create an issue. So we created the issue, and if we go into here, we should be able to see from the audit log of the automation, the status on which an automation rule is executed, right? So in this case, it was really quick. I wanted to catch it in progress, but let's see if we can do it again. But you can see that the issue condition is passed, and then the comment was added. So if we actually open up the issue, you can see that automation for Jira already came in and left in the comment. So this is a very basic example, and just to show you around a little bit more of the automation panel, you can open, for example, this one, which I created previously, and you can see that the audit log is going to capture all the executions and also the config changes you make for each of these rules. From here, you can also access the global audit log, so you can see all the rules, how they're performing in real time. And you're gonna have at hand this template panel in which you can peruse through all of these templates that have been made already by Atlassian. Probably some of these could be useful for you as well. And from here, you can see also the usage of the automation rules. Remember that when they're global, they count up to a certain amount of executions. So you can see here how much you have been consuming of your rules, right? So for example, a little bit of a more complex rule we can use is one I have open right here, which is this marketing automation example. This one comes integrated within the template. And you can see, for example, that this one has a trigger on the issue create, right? It checks if an issue is coming from a specific request type from within a certain project, because you can see that it's scoped within this single project, marketing services. And from there, it will perform a certain amount of actions. So you can see that if it satisfies, if the trigger is actioned and it satisfies this this parameter, which is the request type, it should create then a new issue in another separate project. It links that to the original issue and it creates another issue in the same project. So just so you can see how this goes, this is, for example, a customer portal. This is a default customer portal for a JSM. And we should be able to create a ticket here. And let's see how the automation rule goes. Let me check out here. I think I have to refresh this page. All right, I need to select this. So once the ticket is created, and this is the customer portal view, this is what a customer would see on this side of JSM. Once you go into the project itself, we should be able to see the progress on automation in this case. So for example, you can see that the issue was created in MS. Right, so this is the one, for example, the customer, in this case, myself, created, and this is what an agent would see on the JSM side of things. And you can see that automation for Jira took care of creating this separate issue in a separate project and linked it into this original issue, and then created this separate issue as well. So from there, you can imagine how much this could pile up if you need to have this within your workflow and your processes, if this needs to be manual, versus how you can leave this to automation for Jira to actually perform and reduce also the errors of somebody, for example, forgetting to actually create and link these issues between these two projects. So that's a second example, as you can see, how automation for Jira could work. And I wanted to show a last one we have been working on, actually, a little bit of a pet project we have here in ServiceRocket, which was based off of a requirement we have for a client that needed a deeper project clone alternative to what is given out of the box for Jira Cloud. Because as you know, you can create projects within Jira Cloud, and you can select the option to share certain settings between the projects. So it will bring over a lot of things. For example, the workflow, the permission schemes, the issue type schemes, I believe as well, they come over. But certain artifacts from the projects, they are not carried over when you select that option. So for example, the components are not cloned between projects. Boards are not, or Confluence spaces are not created. There are a certain amount of steps that our client needed in this case to kind of satisfy what they were requiring in their use case, in their business case. And the other thing they needed as well was kind of like a one-click experience for this whole solution. Because in the end, if this is not performed as they would need it, out of the box, they would need to have a certain amount of steps, and they would need to create a documentation for this. And for example, let's say 50 steps to create the project and then actually set it up and configure the boards and the spaces as to their needs. So we kind of wanted to explore this a little bit more. And this is the result of this. So you can see, for example, that we have this project clone automation, as we called it. And what it pretty much does is, in this instance, we have a template project, which is the master, in which everything is configured into, and where everything we need to copy over to the new projects is set in as well. So we have this template, right? And it has, it's configured with to a certain permission scheme and workflows. And it also has a couple of components we created as an example, right? So from here, in this automation rule, you can come in and you can set a variable, and this variable can then be used within web requests, can be used as well to when you get a response from a put, for example, you send into the Jira Cloud API, you can then set this into the audit log and comment and leave a comment there as well to track the progress of what you're doing. So we can point to the project and the template project here and the project ID. And then we can start making a series of web requests to actually create a project based on the parameters we get from this API call. So we send a request using the template project key. And what's interesting of automation for Jira is that you can get a request, and from the response, you can store that response as a variable and then handle certain things within that rule with the same variables as well. So you can actually interact with not only the Jira Cloud API, you can use and interact with any API you have access to in this case. So then you can, for example, come in here and identify, the notification scheme, the permission scheme, the workflow schemes, all of these, you can have these within as variables within the rule that is being executed. You can log this here, and then you can make a post to actually create the project. So this will look like this. Let's just give it a run. On the user side, you can have, for example, a custom field that's called project name. And then you can set it a project key, for example. You can also set, for example, a validator that could check if this is actually, if the project key is going to be valid and if it's not a duplicate of something that already exists within the instance. And in this case, we have set the trigger, when you look at it around here, to be manual. So you can come in here, and once you've created the test, the agent can come ahead and click on the rule so it executes. So from here, you can see the rule is in progress by looking at the audit log of the rule. And you can see also the previous executions of these. And after a while, you can see that the verb request did their job. It identified successfully all the scheme IDs that were needed for the purposes of this rule, and it should have created a new project. It also seems to have identified the two components and created the components, and the project should now be available here. So if we refresh this, we should be able to see the comment left by automation for Jira. And we should be able to see the newly created project, which if you look into the configurations, you can see that it's sharing everything from the template project. And most interestingly, for example, you can see that it also brought in the two test components that came over from the template project as well. So as you can see, you can really go deep with this automation tool, and you can really solve a lot of challenges you have when you're facing a service management desk and managing a service management desk, and also kind of coming into the idea of trying to automate as much as possible and remove a lot of these repetitive tasks from your agents so they can really focus on actually solving the tickets. So this is something that's really exciting. I really love working for automation for Jira. I really love building up solutions for our customers as well via automation for Jira. It's a really powerful tool, both for on-prem and for cloud. So please, if you have any questions about this, please leave them in the comments. Let us know any observations you have. We would love to hear you and have a little discussion about this for you right now. So Chris, what do you think about automation?
That it's awesome. And yes, thank you so much for providing such an insightful session on everything JSM. I certainly can see the value out of automating certain behaviors when working with agents that speak with customers on a daily basis to make it more efficient, the work that the different teams are doing. So yeah, while we wait for some questions to arrive, I would like to ask you, if I'm a new customer on Atlassian, and I would like to bring these tools into my organization to expand my ITSM systems and platforms, what will be your recommendation for people that are just starting this journey?
So what's definitely important here is, and something I didn't mention before, is that automation for Jira comes out of the box for Jira Cloud and JSM Cloud as well. So that is something you will get even with the free plan. You would have this functionality, although you will have certain limits to how many rules you can execute per month. Especially when you look at the premium plans, it will have more. You will have much more of an overhead of how many rules you can execute per month on this. When looking into a solution such as JSM, and when you're kind of on the market for a product like this, we do recommend a lot to contact a solution partner such as ServiceRocket to kind of go over what are your requirements. We can hear, we can schedule a call with you and just listen to what you're looking for and to guide you and help you out in identifying what could be the best fit. So if you're looking into something like this and you want to, for example, start up a trial or try to create a test project to kind of see the functionality and see how it could be adopted by your team, it's a really good idea to reach out and just let us know. We can just join up in a call and talk to you and have a conversation of what you're looking for and what you're actually trying to achieve with this tool before making the investment. So we're all ears, and we're very much happy to hear you if you want to go further into this tooling.
Fantastic. That sounds really, really good. So then let me follow up with another question. Let's say I'm currently using a competitive solution, maybe Zendesk, maybe ServiceNow, and I will love to get some of the functionality that JSM provides. How can I transition from one of those tools into JSM?
Yeah, so definitely that is a process that will always have its nuances, and it will depend a lot on each customer. So it's a very much a tailored solution to everybody, especially there if you have, for example, another type of service desk that has been running for quite some years. We also see a lot of homegrown solutions, service desks that were developed in-house that have been running for 10 plus years, for example, or 5 years. You would need to consider or understand, for example, the fact if you need to do any ticket migration, if you need to import any information from your legacy platform into something like Jira Service Management, for example. So that would be a factor. The other factor you would probably have is something like what type of workflows or what type of processes you want to bring over from your legacy platform into your Jira Service Management, for example, tool that would be configured afterwards. So there's a lot of discovery work, and there's a lot of advisory as well we can help out with into guiding you and helping you understand what could be needed and what should be brought over into the new platform. Or if you definitely need like a lift and shift, as we call them, just move everything over as is into a new platform, that can be done as well. So that all of those things can be estimated, and we can follow you in that journey and help you out as best as we can for it to be as seamless as an experience as it can be.
Fantastic. It sounds like it's a process that can come with certain complexities, some caveats, but it's great to know that regardless of the case, there is a path to follow and that we can help to get our customers where they need to be. Great. So I think that we have a question on the chat. Just a quick hello and thanks for the introduction. Greetings from Germany. Thank you so much for the kind regards. Yes. Well then, I do have one last question, Miguel. How can I reach out to ServiceRocket?
So we can leave you our contact or support email in the chat, but any way you want, you can reach out. The best way will be via email or request forms. From there, we will be happy to help you out and hear you out on whatever your needs are, especially for, once again, going into this topic and automation rules per se. If you need any help troubleshooting any type of automation rules you have, if you need refactoring, if you want to, for example, migrate, because automation for Jira is present in Jira Server and Data Center. And if you need to bring these over into cloud, we can help you out with that as well. So feel free to contact us at sales@servicerocket.com, and we'll be happy to help you out.
Fantastic. Well, then if you can move to the next slide, I would like to take a brief second to tell all attendees today that if you have any projects in sight, any questions around the Atlassian tech stack, we are here to help. As I was saying at the beginning of this call, we have been in this space for more than 20 years, so we definitely have the pedigree that you will like to receive from a partner in order to get the most out of your investment in Atlassian. So whether you're looking for training, licensing, applications, implementation or consulting services, and even support for your products, you can let us know, and we will be more than happy to help. And with that note, I think that the last thing to say is to just encourage you to check some other materials we have available in case you would like to know more about everything ITSM. We have a white paper called A Better ITSM Platform for a Better Business. So if you are interested in these topics, please be sure to check it out. I'm sure that it's going to be worth your while. And with that, I think that we can wrap this session up. Again, thank you so much for everybody who attended this session, and we will see you on a new event later in the future.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Thanks. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for joining.
Take care, everybody. See you.